Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Tonight, I am going to provide a special Wargame Wednesday episode and unbox and take a first look at the Men of Iron Tri-Pack from GMT Games. So come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the grand poobah. So welcome aboard. It is Wednesday, July 1st, 2020. This is episode 507 of The Daily Dope. If this is your first time joining me, I do want to point out, usually I'm just covering tabletop gaming news, but I thought as something a little bit different, every once in a while, I like to toss something different out there. So tonight, I am actually going to unbox and take a first look at the Men of Iron Tri-Pack, which is from GMT Games, and it is jam-packed. I can guarantee it. I haven't opened it up yet because this is going to be an unboxing and a first look. But I can tell you right now, we are going to see this is jam packed because there's like 20 battles. It's 3 complete games in this 3-inch box, this big old GMT box. So that'll be coming up in just a moment. If, like I said, if this is your first time joining me, it's usually tabletop gaming news. But regardless, we don't deal in rocket surgery here by any stretch of the imagination. But I do want to mention that if you like this video, please give it a quick thumbs up. And bing, there we go. I have things kind of different tonight, and I'll explain once I get through this. But give it a quick thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you know when I upload my regular reviews and unboxings. And of course, learn when the Daily Dope streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube. Do want to mention no episode tomorrow night. I am taking a 4-day weekend and for the 4th of July. Although on Sunday, got something cooking. I will talk about that in just a moment as well. So also do want to mention that if you are watching live, there is chat available. So I want to point out it's not on screen. One of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, or maybe you got a question or a comment, maybe there's something about Men of Iron that you want to get a closer look at, by all means, please chime in. I will do my best to respond. And of course, when you are not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. Oh, yes. That is where most people know me from, is from the website itself. I know some people take a look at these videos and they say, geez, man, he doesn't even have 100 views on these things. This is just kind of an extra, right? This is just a little bit of an extra. It's the website that most people are familiar with. All right, so let's see who we got in chat. So we've got the Madman. We got John Vogel. A Gray Day is here as well. Viper Dave has popped in. I haven't seen Viper Dave in a while. So, so a Gray Day is mentioning. We'll jump in a chat, take a peek at something here real quick. The Joan of Arc game. So okay, so a Gray Day mentions that they were super late on some news. You and me both. I don't catch everything. People are surprised. We're like, how did you not know this? And it's like, because that company didn't send me any info. That's how I don't know. But a great A is talking about reading about the takedown of Joan of Arc content with Mythic and the creator of the game who was acquired from another company. So I'm not sure what all is going on with that. Now I am familiar with the Joan of Arc game. I did see it at Gen Con before it kickstarted. And I'm I'm leery about companies that I'm not overly familiar with who have big exhibit areas at Gen Con that are simply promoting a Kickstarter. Those usually do not turn out very well. I am, and I saw it. It was like historical miniatures with fantasy and Joan of Arc, and I thought, WTF, sort of how I looked at it. I was like, what? I do want to mention the sculpts look pretty cool that I saw. And I just peeked through. I mean, I didn't spend a lot of time hanging out there. I didn't interview anybody because, like I said, just from past experience, I have seen these companies spend money at, say, Origins or Gen Con, and they're not selling product. They're just trying to promote an upcoming Kickstarter. And sometimes those don't come out. So a grade A says the 1.5 Kickstarter version is frozen. I will have to take a look at that. So I'll be very honest. It was not something that really had caught my eye. I guess there's some disputes, according to a grade A, about royalties and recognition. Uh, just like, and once again, I don't know anybody from this company. I have not heard good things about their games, and they tend to always be kickstarting stuff that has like some sort of a license. Is River Horse? That is another company that I kind of stay away from because, for one, I've heard many of their games that have come out, gameplay's like nothing to them, and I don't know. I honestly don't know. I've never heard anything great about any of their games, so I don't. Like I said, I'm not trying to knock them. I don't know anything about them, but it is another company that I kind of just go, "Mm, they got a Terminator game coming out. Yeah, the minis kind of look cool, but I don't know." So I'm really not talking about some news today, but there is one item that did pop up today. I was informed of, and I do want to mention it because my friend Stephen Bonacore of Stronghold Games fame is stepping down as president of the company as of August 1st. Yes, Stephen Bonacore is retiring from Stronghold Games. I do believe that Stephen is still going to host the podcast. What the heck is it? The Board Game Insider. Is that it? Is that the podcast he's on? I apologize. I don't follow other podcasts or you know other reviewers and that too much. So I think that is the name of it. And I want to say, doesn't he? I think he hosts it with the gentleman from Portal Games. I might be completely wrong. I don't know. For some reason, it looks like our audio is just jumping way too hot. So I'll fix that there. See what we got with that. So hopefully everything's in sync tonight. I don't know. I've been messing around with some stuff today. I swapped out the camera lens on the Sony, and I'll explain it in a bit. But anyway, so this, I guess it's come as a surprise to a lot of people. I got to admit, I'm not shocked. I wasn't expecting this, at least not at this point in time. But I assumed when Stephen moved down to Florida, that was probably in the mix as far as his retirement because he's from New York, and I guess everybody from New York State. I'm almost positive he's from New York State. Maybe he's from New Jersey originally, but they all moved down to Florida to retire. I thought that's how it works, right? But kind of sad, kind of sad to see this. I'm sure Steven is still going to stay in the mix as far as the hobby. I'm sure he'll still be a voice in the hobby. I did reach out, asked him if, hey, for old time's sake, if he might want to do one last interview with me because funny enough, Stronghold Games and the Gaming Gang have kind of grown up together. In fact, when Elliot Miller, my best friend, was part of the Gaming Gang, I think the first almost positive. It's been almost 10 years, so I don't always remember every single convention in, oh, well, this happened in 2012 and this one was 2013. But I do know it was the first Origins that we attended, which I do think was actually the first convention we did interviews at, that we actually were there as the gaming gang. And we interviewed Steven, and they had one game. Stronghold Games had one game. It was Survive Escape from Atlantis that they were doing a new edition of. And we sat down, did an interview. I believe we were one of the first outlets that Steven ever did an interview with, too. So I thought that was pretty wild. Pretty wild. So I wish my friend Steven all the best. And I'm sure if we ever have conventions again, that I'll be seeing him. I always like to joke around with them. I wish I had a better image that I could have shared that is me and Steven. But they're all like on Twitter and they're all buried away. Yeah, I think I must have like 8,000 images on Twitter. And it's like, yeah, good luck finding any one in particular. So all the best to Stephen Bonacore. I do believe that Jeff Engelstein's daughter, I think her name is Sydney. I think it's Sydney. Is going to take over the position of, I think, game development for Stronghold, which I don't think she's very old. I, is she a teenager? I mean, I'm sure she's a teenager, but I almost think that she's still a teenager. I don't know. But I know there were a lot of people who were kind of curious. Oh my gosh, is Steven being, is he being forced out? And Steven did mention on Facebook, because I am friends with him on Facebook. No, no, no. This is good. This is what I want. So, so Grade A says maybe he's leaving so he doesn't have to deliver the recent Terraforming Mars 3D Kickstarter. All right, wise guy. I will mention one thing. And I mean, and I love Steven to death. He's a pal of mine. And I really do like many releases from Stronghold Games. But they do come out with some clunkers. They come out with their fair share of clunkers. So if you go, say Fun Again Games, right? And you go to their kind of like discounted, stock and things like that. Last time I put an order in with Fun Again and actually ordered some of their games that just, didn't catch on. I noticed there were a lot of Stronghold Games titles. I was like, I'm a little surprised. No. Anyway. So that's it. That's our little news piece for tonight. But I will have to look into that Kickstarter with Joan of Arc. I hate when I hear bad news about Kickstarters. I really do. So I do want to mention before I jump into my GMT Men of Iron unboxing. If you are not doing anything Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be joining Dan Pancaldi over at No Enemies Here. He's got me coming on board for his In Conversation series. And I noticed. So he's posted like a little teaser, like a 30-minute teaser of it. And I already noticed it's got like 2 thumbs down, like, oh, no way, man. Oh, yuck. Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Gotta love it. Yeah. A vast majority of the people who follow this hobby are wonderful. I love them to death. But there is also a portion of this hobby that is just the biggest pains in the ass and crybaby whiners. So, yes, go ahead. Go give the thumbs down. But anyway, I don't know what we're going to talk about, to be honest. I think we're just going to probably joke around a bit. So Grade 8 points out, yes, Stronghold has a lot of games. Speaking of companies that have a lot of games, so does GMT. And my friends over at GMT, one of their most recent releases is the Men of Iron Tri-Pack, which is for 2 players, ages 14 and up. This includes 3 complete games: Men of Iron, Infidel, and Blood and Roses. Now, let's hope that I can continue pronouncing Infidel correctly throughout this episode, because we do recall it was a couple of weeks ago, I kept calling it Infidel, like it was a white Infidel wine, right? Honey, yes, we'll have a nice glass of white Infidel. But this is available now. As I mentioned, it has 3 complete games in it, and they were all designed by Richard H. Berg, the late Richard H. Berg. And these have been out of print for a while. So now they are back, and it carries an MSRP of $95, which is a pretty smoking deal when you take a peek. Let's swing on over to the other camera. So I actually have, let's get that out of the way. We don't need the keyboard here. So what I am going to do is I am going to turn on another light. So I swapped out the lenses. So I went back to my kit lens so that we can do a little bit of zoom on this, because with the prime lens, which I feel gives me a sharper image, a clearer image, there's no zoom. So we are going to end up looking at rules. We're going to be looking at counter sheets. So I did swap out, and I have more lighting. And I noticed when I have the other lighting on, especially when it's shooting me, I'm like really washed out. So I had that light off. But anyway, here we've got Men of Iron, the tri-pack. We're going to flip this on over because, as I mentioned, this does include Men of Iron, which covers the reemergence of infantry in the early 14th century, along with a more perceptive understanding of the value of combined arms warfare and the effective use of defensive terrain. There is Infidel, which focuses on the major battles of the early Crusades era between Christians and Muslims. Then we have Blood and Roses, which focuses on the battles of the Wars of the Roses in England between 1455 and 1487. And as a bonus, we have the Battle of Agincourt, which of course is Henry V's victory over the French during the Hundred Years' War. And this was originally from C3I magazine. So this is an extra bonus. We have a grand total of 20 battles included in this box. So if you think about it, it's got an MSRP of $95, got 20 battles. It's less than $5 a battle in here, folks. So very, very nice. Very, very cool. So we're going to dive in. Let's get this shrink wrap off here. So Grade A says Bourbon, Zinfandel, and Merlot, the tri-pack. I think I would probably stick to the Merlot. I'm not a big bourbon fan, to be honest. I'm a vodka drinker. That's if I'm going to drink alcohol, if I'm going to drink spirits, normally vodka. All right, so we've got the rules manual. So we're going to take a peek at this. So it looks like we've got a rules book, and then we have battle books. So kind of like the playbooks that we normally will see. So we've got those. We're gonna do kind of a quick page through on each of these. We got a bunch of counter sheets. I'm gonna take a guess. We probably have, I don't know, 7 to 10 counter sheets in here. So we're gonna find out. Plus, we're gonna have a bunch of maps. So we're gonna take a peek at a lot of this. So let's kind of move this off to the side here. And we will jump on into the rules manual. Now let's zoom in a little bit here. And with the prime lens, I wouldn't be able to do that. So hopefully this is still remaining sharp. Because for me to follow chat as well as have the video up here, I don't have it full screen. So usually in full screen, I can tell if something's in focus or not, but it looks like we should be good. So it's going to give us an introduction talking about the components, a vast variety of counters and sample markers, the die. So I think we're going to have a couple of, I want to say, I think they're 10-siders if I remember right. It has been quite a while since I played Infidel. I did a review of that. That was a few years back. And that is actually the only game of this series that I did a review of. Okay, so we're talking about sequence of play, leaders in command, activation and continuity, movement, facing, zones of control, stacking, missile fire. If I remember correctly, yes, there we go. We've got the shock. The shock phase was what really kind of stood out about Infidel when I played it and we did a review of it. I swear, I think that review's from all the way back when I lived out in Arizona. So Mel Winnius has joined us in chat, mentioned that he had ordered The Hunters, and hopefully that it's going to show up tomorrow. I enjoyed that series. I have not played all of them. I played the first two. I know there are a lot of people out there, well, it's not very historically accurate, and some people feel that, oh, well, I'm just rolling charts and things like that. I enjoyed it. Personally, I felt that there were more decisions to be made in that series than, say, a classic like, which is beloved by most people, B-17, say from Avalon Hill, which I still have, rose-colored glasses when I think of that. But, it really is a bunch of charts you're rolling on. So we've got rallying units, we got special rules, we got images throughout, not a ton, but we do have some images, and we have changes from original editions of the games. So as far as Men of Iron, it says all known errata is included for all. It looks like all, well, for both of those. So we've got that. Oh yeah, here we go. There's Blood and Roses down there. It says the same. Okay, so that is kind of the rule book, the overall rules manual. And it's 23 pages altogether. I do remember Infidel is not an extra, well, I should say probably for the series, because I'm sure that it's going to be very similar, but it was not an extremely heavy series. It's about medium complexity. In fact, we'll take a peek when we're done. We'll look at the back because I didn't peek at what they're considering the complexity level of it. All right, so here we've got Men of Iron, which is the rebirth of infantry. So this is the battle book. So we're going to have the different scenarios. So we got Falkirk. It's going to walk us through the setup for this. Kutchdraai. Not familiar with that battle. Bannockburn. Wasn't this when the Bruce defeats the English? Pretty sure that Robert the Bruce is able to, yeah, well, okay, there's Edward II, and we got the Bruce up here. Yep, there we go, right there. So, yep. I am not necessarily up on, I'm pretty familiar with like a lot of ancient history, medieval European history. Yeah, I know a little bit about, but not a ton. Not a ton. So these are the different battles that are included in Men of Iron. There we go. Here's Agincourt. I always loved the, oh gosh, now I can't remember the actor's name for crying out loud. The oh gosh, I'm kicking myself because I can't remember his name. He's famous for his Shakespearean performances in that. But we're talking modern. We're not talking like Laurence Olivier. Anyway, Henry V, I always loved. I think it's a fantastic movie. So we've got Men of Iron, Rebirth of Infantry right here. Let's look at Infidel, the battle book for that. grab that, pull that on over. A great A says Patrick Stewart. No, but if I remember right, I think Patrick Stewart is in Henry V. Uh, he directed the Thor movie, the first Thor, or no, I think it was the second Thor movie. And he just did the remake of the Agatha Christie Murder on the Orient Express. He was in it too. Oh, he's in Dunkirk. Thank you, a grade A, Kenneth Branagh. Thank you. I know, I'm sitting there, I'm going, wait a second, what? What? So the madman says, all those counters, I can see Kitten Kong wreaking havoc with those military units. Well, if you end up leaving the game set up overnight, yes, your pets may have a field day. All right, so what do we have here? Yeah, okay, I'm going to try to pronounce that right. Dorilom, Antioch. Okay. So, of course, these are battles of the early Crusades. So I think, if memory serves me right, I believe Saladin is in, the forces of Saladin are included in this, the Frankish kingdom of Jerusalem. So a great A says, or Richard Burton. No, it was not Richard Burton. It was Kenneth Branagh. Thank you. Oh, I like Richard Burton. So a great A asked, said they were wondering if GMT didn't include these battles in Command and Colors Medieval due to this Men of Iron tri-pack. I don't think so. I don't believe so. I think this is just how this just kind of played out. I will have to point out that I did not review Command and Colors Medieval. I thought it was okay. It would not have gotten a big thumbs up from me. And I do like the Command and Colors series as far as a nice entry into wargaming and kind of fog of war, well, not really fog of war, but block games. So here we have Blood and Roses. So these are the Wars of the Roses during the 100 Years' War. Blarheath. St. Albans, second St. Albans. Howden. Barnet. Tewksbury. And as you can see, we get a lot of info, Battle of Bosworth, about each of these scenarios. So Grade A mentions that they were expecting to see many of these battles in Command and Colors. Yes and no. I would have thought here personally, what I would think is that you would see those in C3I. That maybe they would release that different scenarios in the magazine simply because it's a good way to help promote sales of that magazine. So we've got the different battle books. So we've got the 3 battle books, and now we're gonna dive on into. Yep, we got a whole bunch of counter sheets. We're going to jump on in. We're going to take a peek at these. I will zoom in so we can get a bit of a better look at these as well. Just kind of taking a peek here. So we have the different commanders. We have the different units. So we will take a look at some of the artwork on these as well. So these counters are a little bit larger than a lot of these. So these are all pretty much our standard size war game counters here. These are a little bit bigger. Not by much, but they are just a hair larger for these as well. So these are the front. This is counter sheet 8. So it looks like, okay, so we must have 7.5 counter sheets in this box. So we do see that we have both sides, dual-sided counters here. And take a look at the first counter sheet, the front, as well as the back. Our next counter sheet. This looks like this is from Infidel. Could be. Kind of ring a bell. All right, looks like we've got some cavalry on here, some men-at-arms as well. One aspect that I did like about Infidel was that I like the artwork on the counters. I really did like the artwork on the counters. And I will zoom in so you can get a much better look at these also. Okay, so this is counter sheet 5. So far, almost all of these are all units. These are all unit counters. They're not informational counters. And yet another counter sheet of all units. And then it looks like the 7th counter sheet is informational for the most part. And once again, all of these are dual sided. So what I'll do is I'm going to zoom in so you can get a much better look at. I'll zoom in as close as I can get with these. And that is as close as I can get. Wow, really? Okay. All right. Well, hang on. Make sure at least that is as focused as it can possibly be. You know what? We got the autofocus on this. Let me lift them up. See if we can get. All right. So trying to at least get some light on these to give you a better. But I'm actually lifting this above the lighting, unfortunately. So a grade A says if your game is set during the medieval period and it doesn't have Hastings, Agincourt, Creasy, or Tours, then I don't want it. I gotta be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if that was disappointment that many purchasers had for Command and Colors Medieval. That would not shock me. Let's try to get a little better look at these too. Bring these up for you. So somebody had emailed me asking, why do I sometimes have my face in the corner when I'm doing like unboxings and reviews, and sometimes I don't? So what I've kind of started to do here is I only like have my face up in the upper left corner if I'm doing a review because I tend to stop and kind of pontificate about things in reviews much more often than I do in unboxings. And a lot of times when I do unboxings, people have already seen the components. So, well, hopefully they, or at least they have an opportunity that they can take a much closer look at the components. All right. But as you can see, definitely very, very cool artwork on these as well. If I remember right, and like I said, it has been so long since I played Infidel. If I remember correctly, these numbers up here, like you see, like a -1, +1, I'm almost positive that those are the bonuses that you add or penalties that you subtract from your 10-sided die. Like I said, it has been so long since I played Infidel. We'll look at this one a little closer up as well. And of course, we know that William Wallace is in here. Yes, the Braveheart is in here. Not sure what counter sheet he's going to be on. Kind of give you an idea here. Like I said, hopefully, if anybody's watching full screen, this is fairly sharp. Like I said, I noticed my prime lens is much sharper, much clearer, much cleaner. That's why I try to always use the prime lens when I'm reviewing, say, like an RPG book. But if I was using the prime lens, we would not be able to do this. We would not be able to see these archers. We wouldn't. If we, in fact, we wouldn't even be able to get this close to take a look. Because if I did, then we would have never been able to actually look through that, through these books. All right. So a great A says, this is a great buy. I have the originals and played them all several years ago. It's it has been a while. I'm trying to remember. On one hand, I think, yeah, I review Blood and Roses, and then on the other hand, I sit there and go, pretty sure I never did review Blood and Roses. All right, so these are all of the counters. So 7.5 counter sheets of mainly units. The vast majority of these are units, various different units. So we've got that. Now, let's take a look at some of the maps that we've got, because that is what's going to occupy most of the rest of here. Going to be that. I'm sure we got some player aids. There's our two 10-sided. I was like, where are the dice? They didn't pop out. So we got a couple of 10-siders right here. I'm gonna move this off to the side. Get that out of the way. And then let's try to zoom out, see how much of these maps that we can get into the shot. One thing I do notice, which I think is going to be a little bit different here, is one thing I notice is when we're looking at, say, ancient war games, that's the theme. Very rarely do you have a lot of terrain, right? Usually they're very kind of blank. So here for an example, we've got the Battle of Towton. So we got some roads. We got a little bit of forest here. And that's about it. But as far as ancient games go, this would be like, wow, look at all that terrain. Because usually it is just a blank map. All right, so we've got, St. Albans. Oh, yeah, this is nice. This is cool. That is very cool. So there we go. I wonder how many maps we're going to have. I'm taking a guess 8. I'm taking a guess we're going to have 8 because they're going to be dual-sided. Okay, so here we have the Battle of Antioch on this side. So, okay, so there we go. So this is the Battle of Antioch. Right down there is Antioch itself, the old Crusader camp. And then we have Ascalon. Very nice. So far we're getting 2 on each side. That's the first one. Let's see what else we've got. So that's 1. Like I said, I'm guessing we've got 8. Let's see what we end up here. Oh, there we go. Gray Day says, hey, we can finally start. Dan's here. Yes, Dan from No Enemies has arrived in chat. So, as I mentioned, if you were not around for the open on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be joining Dan in conversation for No Enemies here. And as I mentioned, people are already thumbing down the preview he's got up. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so this is the Battle of Ursa. So that's the entire map of that side. Battle of Barnet. So we've got 3 battles on this. The Battle of Blorheath. So that's 2 maps. So Melwinia says that they still have lots of Command and Colors Napoleonics to get, and they hope GMT will put a new print run of CNC Ancients out I like the Napoleonics. I did a review for one of the ancients, and I know I did one for the Napoleonics. I did not have all of the ancients or Napoleonics. So Dan says, "Man, Jeff, we are going to have a blast. Are you going to wear clothes?" Okay, so I commented on Dan's preview because it says adults only. So I asked Dan if he was like planning on going full frontal on this, and I'm not aware of it because his little 30-second promo says adults only. I'm like, okay. So yes, Dan, we're gonna have some fun. We will have some fun. All right. So is this? I'm gonna take a guess. This battles the entire map. Yep. Oh no, it's not. I thought it was. I thought it would be. Oh, we got Creasy here. There we go. So this is what, the third? This is the third. Remember, I keep saying there's probably 8. And no, I have not looked. I did not look to see. Maybe it says so on the back. I don't know. Here we go. Now, here we have a map that reminds me of the ancient warfare games, right? Just hexes. Just hexes. So Dan says it's the full Monty, baby. Yes, right. So we'll do the full Patton and the full Monty. There we go. A great A says it's a trap. It's a Dan trap. Okay. Here we go. Bannockburn. Yes, where the Bruce defeats Edward II. Okay. And Falkirk, which is William Wallace, right? I'm almost positive it's William Wallace. I don't know. Like I said, I'm halfway decent with ancient and medieval history, but I am certainly not a scholar. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. So we have this whole sheet. It's kind of devoted to this. Okay. All right. Just telling us what's on it. All right. So this is for both battles, and effectively it's just a river and what looks like maybe a dune here. Now let's see what we got on the backside. So we got the Battle of Bosworth and the Battle of Tewkesbury. Nice. A Great A says, yes, Falkirk is Wallace. That's what I thought. It has been a while since I watched good old Braveheart. Here we go. Here's the Battle of Agincourt. So this is kind of our bonus battle, which this was originally in C3I magazine. And that's why it's not dual sided. I don't know. I'm not going to count that as a map, right? So I'm not count that as a map. So we've got, it looks like I'm going to be wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, I was guessing 8. So they packed a lot of the maps on one sheet. And then, of course, we've got Agincourt. Then we've got the player aids for Men of Iron. So we've got 2 player aids for Men of Iron here. So we got the weapon system matrix, as well as terrain for the various different battles. Then we have fire results, charge combat, shock combat, for when the cavalry will plow into infantry. So, yep. So a Great Ace pointing out that Falkirk is the first war of Scottish independence. So here we have the player aid for Infidel. You notice I keep pausing before I say Infidel, just so I don't sit there and be like Infidel. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Then we got Blood and Roses, 2 of these. And this folds out. Look, it's a Game Master screen. So a grade A says lots of nobles and royalty killed at Agincourt. Yes, on the French side, for certain. And then the dastardly French went after the supply train of the English, which was not normally done. That was kind of a no-no. Right, so we've got that. And then we also have our, our point tracks for Men of Iron. Let's zoom back. Let's zoom back in to get a better look at these. This is for Men of Iron. I'm assuming this is just going to be one-sided, right? Yep. And then we have for Infidel. And then on the other side, we should have Blood and Roses. Yep. There you go. Bingo. All right. Now look at all the goodness that is packed into this, right? And then of course we got the cool insert. GMT always has cool inserts. They're not boring. So yes, Kenneth Branagh played Henry V. That's right. On St. Crispian's Day. All right. So I always like the artwork in these little inserts. The reality is GMT doesn't have to do that, right? I mean, it's not like it's some real fancy insert with different things. Do want to point out, because people argue with me all the time that GMT includes counter trays with all of their games. No, they do not. Most of the games that I have encountered from GMT do not come with counter trays. It is a pleasant surprise when they do. Almost like when people argue with me that Steve Jackson Games Car Wars originally came out in a plastic clamshell. And it's like, no, it was in a little Ziploc plastic baggie. Oh, no, it was a clamshell. It's like, no, it wasn't. So we've got the insert. We got the two 10-sided dice. So you can use these to play some role-playing games while you're at it, too. So a grade A says those inserts help keep the box from dishing. That is correct. So we've got the trackers for the 3 games. We've got the 2 copies of the Blood and Roses player aids, 2 copies of the Infidel player aids, a couple of copies of the Men of Iron play aids. We have 5 full size maps with all of the battles, plus we have a 6 that's a small map for Agincourt. And then we've got 7.5 counter sheets. So you're getting a lot for your $95. You really are getting a ton. As I mentioned, there are 20 battles inside. So that comes out to less than $5 a battle. You got all of these really nice counters. Like I said, I really dig the artwork on here because, let's be honest, GMT could be lazy and just put little icons on here and be like, oh, well, yeah, these are infantry. So grade A says that the inserts also take up too much space, especially if it's not the 3-inch GMT box. Yeah, every once in a while they like one of the smaller boxes don't have an insert. So we've got the battle books for Blood and Roses, Infidel, Men of Iron, as well as the rules manual. And I'll tell you right now, as I took all this stuff out of the box, it is I'm gonna have to really squeeze this back down on top to make sure that closes up. There we go. So that is what we find when we take everything from the Men of Iron tri-pack outside the box. As I mentioned before, the battles inside are for 2 players, ages 14 and up. They're going to play anywhere for 2 hours or more. It's going to depend on the scenario that you're playing, of course. And this does carry an MSRP of $95. It is out now, so you can snag it now. And as I always like to point out, that when we're talking about GMT games, these do not have huge print runs. So for an example, Imperial Struggle probably had a print run of 7,000. I'll take a guess, 7,000. I'm going to take a stab, 7,000. But that is unusual. So that's got a big print run because It's a struggle game. Look at who the designers are, right? So if you're a fan of Twilight Struggle, that is certainly something you want to keep an eye out for, right? Already did an unboxing of that. We're not talking about Imperial Struggle. I would say this probably has a print run of 3,000, 4,000, maybe. So if you have any interest in this, grab it now. Because one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to pay those secondary market prices for GMT titles once they're out of print. And when they're out of print, they're out of print for a while. And there's no guaranteeing that GMT is going to do a reprint as well. So Viper Dave liked the unboxing. Thank you very much, Viper Dave. Appreciate that very, very much. So that is it for tonight's show. As I mentioned, there's no episode tomorrow night. I'm kind of taking a 4-day weekend for the 4th of July. Also, once again, I do want to say congrats and to my pal Stephen Bonacore. He's retiring from Stronghold Games as of August 1st. Maybe we'll get an interview with him. He's always fun to chat with. He really is. And of course, on Sunday at 7 p.m., July 5th, I will be joining Dan Pancaldi from No Enemies Here in conversation. I don't know. We're just going to shoot the shit is what I figured. So, in fact, you know what? I guarantee it's going to be a little different than most of his in conversations because we probably won't only talk about wargaming. So maybe we'll talk about how to kind of like gateway games to get people to introduce people to conflict simulations and things like that. I don't know. Maybe. I have no idea. So, all right. So a great A is chiming out. It's like, you bet, baby. Yep. So I guess it's already been, it's already saying it's adults only. So I best prepare an entire Bombay of F bombs to drop. So I don't have to worry about it. It's gonna be Dan's monetization. I can do whatever I want. I'm just kidding. All right. So also keep in mind, I've got a lot of videos popping up. Keep an eye on the weekend because I will have my review of the Call of Cthulhu Keeper's Guide. So that's coming. I've got my Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Enemy in Shadows Companion review. I've got a couple of Pathfinder product unboxings we're going to take a look at as well. Hey, speaking of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, do want to also mention Death on the Reich, Chapter 2 of the Enemy Within Director's Cut is out in PDF. Came out today. I've got a news piece over on thegaminggang.com if you want to learn more about it. All right. So, and the madman chimes in and says that he's going to try to catch us on Saturday. Oh, I should say Saturday. Keep thinking of 4th of July. On Sunday for my conversation with Dan. Hey, at least give us a thumbs up because, like I said, it looks like people are thumbing it down pretty good. Whatever. I'll live. So that's it for tonight's show. As I always like to mention, if you like this video, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ring that notification bell because it will remind you when the Daily Dope streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube. But it'll also notify you when I upload other videos as well, such as my interviews and unboxings, reviews, things like that. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. I will be back on Monday, or if you tune in to No Enemies Here, Sunday. So everybody enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night / Thursday morning. Enjoy your holiday weekend if you're here in the U.S. If you are not in the U.S., enjoy your weekend. And of course, during this pandemic, regardless where you live, let me remind you to be smart and stay safe. Oh, You're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. And of course, if you want to catch up on past episodes of The Daily Dope, check out this playlist. And if you'd like to see what YouTube's recommending you take a peek at from the channel, just give a click right over here. Of course, I'm Jeff McAleer, and once again, thank you very much for watching.